All right. Hello, everybody. Coach Jen here. I'm just getting set up. I want to make sure everything is working okay. Hopefully it is. Sometimes you never know with these Facebook Lives, but hopefully all is okay. If you are joining live, feel free to comment. Let me know if there are any issues with sound or audio or anything like that. Let me know. But otherwise, we are going to get rocking. So this is our posture reset class. Really the goal of this session, and I'll be honest, it's probably not the most exciting of sessions I've run. I like to move and play and share a lot of fun different ways to challenge mobility and strength. Today is really about practicality, to be honest. When we talk about posture, most people automatically think, well, the reason my neck hurts, my shoulders hurt, my back hurts is because I'm slouched all day and I need to just simply stand up taller. That will help fix everything. But the reality is, posture isn't a set position. So that, term good posture isn't necessarily about standing up taller and that's the expectation that all day, every day we're standing tall, because even standing tall continually with no break or sitting tall continually with no break can still put strain on your body. When we talk about posture, when we talk about resilience, so a resilient body that can handle life's demands, that can move through day-to-day and activities with ease, reduce pain, we need to look at how much are we moving throughout our day, and in how many ways can our body and our joints move. That's what posture is about. It's dynamic. So what we're going to do is go through this session. Again, this is just practical. These are stretches, movements, mobility drills you can literally add in anytime. And I'm making this kind of like office desk worker friendly, using some chair movements, using some standing movements. Maybe at the end, depending on time, I'll do some ground-based movements, but I want you to just get ideas for how can I move more in my day. It doesn't need to be spectacular and exciting all the time. It's literally just, we need to move more in our day. And so I hope you can walk away with these tools and ideas, some of which might be familiar, some might be new, that you can throw in anytime. Quick 30 seconds here or there, add it up throughout your day, is going to make a world of a difference compared to, let's say, feeling like you either do a big mobility routine or nothing and that's it. So that being said, we are going to get started. You can follow along. Just do the best of, do it to the best of your ability. Listen to your body, and if anything doesn't feel right, certainly you never want to force movement. So I'm going to get situated. We are going to start with some standing drills. And if you're watching the replay or have questions, you can always comment in the comment box after the fact. So we're going to look at joints, neck, shoulders, spine, hips today, because all of those things impact posture. All of those impact how your body feels. So we're going to start, and you could do this sitting if that's better for you, if standing hurts. So we're going to start with some neck cars, so some neck rotations. You're going to create a little bit of tension through your core. We're going to think about tucking your chin down, chin to chest, as far as you can go. You're going to start shifting your gaze to the left, towards your left shoulder. Once you get there, you're going to gently shift left ear towards left shoulder as far as you feel comfortable, and then looking up to the sky. And we're continuing back the opposite direction. Right shoulder, right ear to right shoulder. Look towards that right hand, back through center. We're going to do one more in this direction. So left ear to left shoulder, up and around, looking at the sky. Right ear to right shoulder and back in. Come back to neutral for a sec. Shake it out if you need. Opposite direction. So chin to chest. Now shift gaze to the right. Right ear to right shoulder. Look to the sky, up and around. So we're just trying to get movement through your lumbar, or sorry, your cervical spine, your neck. Good, one more. Our necks do a lot for us, and if we're sitting at our desk or hunched over tech day to day, we're just going to do a couple straight up and straight down now. We need to make sure we're challenging it to move in ways that are different from our one set position of looking forward and down. Good. So next up, we're going to do some thoracic cars. So we're looking at that mid-upper back. Now this one takes a toll. If you're sitting at a desk all day or hunched over, typically we're going to find there's a little bit of rounding and lack of movement and extension, and typically through extension. So you're going to continue standing. Again, you could do this sitting, totally fine. I want you to cross your arms over your body, and I want you to inhale, exhale, create a little tension. We want a little bit of activation. We don't want your core to be loose. We're going to start by rolling that upper spine down. Now notice I'm not letting my bum stick out. This part of my body is staying neutral. We're trying to move through just that upper mid back. So I'm kind of rounding my upper back. Now from here, I'm going to move or shift to the left. So I'm rotating to the left. Now I'm going to try and lift my chest up to the sky. Again, don't let that lower back arch. Might not feel like a ton of movement. That's okay. We're going to end up to the right, and then you're going to center back around. We're gonna do that again. So shift to the left, make sure core is engaged, even butt squeeze. Start rotating up and around. Towards the right and back to center. Good, one more. Shift to the left, keeping tension. Don't let that lower back move. Try and move only through that mid upper back. Good. Come back through center. We're gonna go the opposite direction. This is creating full range of motion through our mid upper spine. We need that to function day to day. And so if you're not moving your spine, so tension, shift down, shift to the right, start lifting that chest up to the sky and back around. This in itself might seem like a kind of boring, silly drill, but it tells us a lot about where your spine is or is not moving. If you feel like you're needing to compensate through moving your lower back, there's probably a limitation in this mid upper spine that needs some time and attention. Go ahead, shake it on out. Next thing we're going to do are some shoulder or scapula cars. So we're trying to create movement through your shoulder blades. Again, if we're hunched over, we're kind of staying in this kind of protracted rounded position all day, your actual shoulder blades might not be moving enough throughout the day. So all you're going to think about, you can opt to keep hands in front. It makes it a little bit more of a mobility challenge, a little more strength, because you can create a little bit more tension through your arms and your core. If you feel more comfortable keeping them by your sides, that's fine. But our goal is to create as full range of motion as possible through your actual shoulder blades. Some of you might not feel like there's a ton of movements, and that's okay. We're going to think shrug your shoulders up towards your ear, and you're going to pull your shoulders back. So I'm pulling my shoulders back towards as if there's a wall behind you, and then down. So I'm trying to depress them and then push them forward. So we're doing this circular pattern. Even for me, I need to work on this. You can see my ribs are trying to flare a little bit. We're trying to not lose tension through our core as we do it, and it's tough. I know my clients eye roll at me sometimes when I give them this type of work because some of these positions might feel tricky. Good, we're gonna try going the opposite direction. So you're gonna go up, forward, down, back. Try and keep some tension in your body, even if it feels uncomfortable. Good. And then if you want to just do kind of a couple arm circles or kind of shoulder shrugs. These things probably feel harder than you'd expect them to, but it's why they matter, right? These are all things you can do throughout your day that are actually creating movement through your joints in a full range of motion, which is what we often miss when we just spend our day sitting and not actively taking care of our bodies. So we're gonna do the same thing with your shoulders, trying to bring them through a full range of motion. So we're gonna do some double arm scapular shoulders cars this time. So again, create a little bit of tension through your body. We're gonna think about bring your hands in front of you, thumbs up. You're gonna reach up to the sky just as far as mobility allows. So you're not gonna flare your ribs. You're gonna just lift as high as you can reach those arms up without compensating. Once you get to that sticking point, you're gonna think about rotating your hands outward, pull them behind. Like make it as slow and controlled and hard as you can. I can feel my shoulders already working. I'm reaching behind. Good, and then we gotta go back. So now I'm gonna re-reach behind. Once I get to my sticking point, I'm gonna start rotating my hands out, up, and around, back through center. We're gonna do that 2 more times. So tension through your body. Make this challenging. We're challenging those shoulders to that full range of motion. Notice where you feel sticky. You might notice I have a little bit of imbalances too. Sometimes these are nice when you can watch yourself, but I know that's not always going to be the case, and that's okay. Good, one more. Reach, reach, reach. Good, all the way back. Joint health is something that people don't spend enough time on, thinking about how their bodies are moving outside from the gym. These are the type of things that are gonna help you stay moving long-term. So we're gonna do some Jefferson curls, not necessarily full. Usually Jefferson curls might be standing on something, like even elevated on a step or a block. We're just going to focus on, again, simplicity for the sake of you might be doing this in the office. So feet under your hips, we're just going to try and create as much of a kind of rounding through our spine as possible. So I'm going to tuck my chin, and you're going to try and move vertebrae by vertebrae as slowly as you can, rounding down. You can let your head shake out for a second, back and forth. You can grab your elbows if that feels good. Good, and then we're going to slowly roll all the way back up. So think vertebrae by vertebrae. Good. Shake it out. We're going to do that again. Tucking your chin. See how well your spine moves here. When we think about posture, you're probably thinking, but Jen, this is rounding my spine. I thought our goal of posture is to unround our spine. But again, we need our body to be able to move through all ranges. We should be able to feel comfortable in a rounded position some of the time. We should be able to flex our back and round our back and it not lead to us pulling a muscle or busting our back, right? When we talk posture, again, we need more movement through our bodies, and that includes flexion, not just extension. So one more here, chin to chest. Start rounding nice and slow. Take your time, see what you notice. Obviously, if you need to stop sooner, that's fine. Shake out your head. Do what feels good. Slowly ease on up. Beautiful. All right, we got a few more standing ones. We got a handful more standing ones, but we're going to do a little bit of a hip and hamstring focus. So we are going to think about reaching up and back. So you're pressing your hips forward only as far as you feel comfortable. We never want to force sharp shooting pain, so stop before that. But again, when we talk about sitting, your hips are closed all day, we want to actively press those hips forward for a nice opener. And then you can do a few small pulses through your legs and just alternate here. If you wanted to do extra pulses at the top, that's totally fine. Again, the goal here is just to start thinking about moving more, not necessarily stressing reps or sets or anything like that. Good. All right. Next up, we're going to look a little bit further at your hips, your abductors. So we want to get into a nice wide stance, as wide as you feel comfortable. And you can also literally just hang out here, get that stretch to that inner thigh through your hips, your hamstrings. What we're going to do, if you're comfortable, I'm going to pivot to the right. I'm going to let my back toe rotate, and you can place one hand on your leg, one hand up. You can lift both hands, whatever feels good for you. But we're kind of focused on not just your hips, but we're actually stretching through your shoulders, that mid back, which also helps with the sitting. We can come back through center. We can take some pulses. This is one of my favorite ones. I do this all the time throughout my day because it just feels good on so many different areas. We're tackling a lot. And again, when you think about these movements, none of them are complicated. They literally can be done anywhere, at home, while you're waiting for things to cook. Again, when you're needing a break at your desk. Who cares if people look at you funny? You're the one taking care of your body, right? Good, shaking on out. So we're going to continue standing for a bit, and then we'll get to some seated exercises. The next thing we're looking at is a good morning. So when we think about mobility, it's not just stretching, right? We need to think about actively strengthening as well, which when we're talking about at work, obviously it's tricky in that maybe you don't have bands or weights or things to use, but it doesn't mean we can't still work on control and strength using just our body. So the first thing we're going to look at is how can we actively work your glutes and hamstrings, right? When we sit all day, we're weakening these areas because we're not using them. We're shortening those, tightening those hip flexors. So we want to work on actively challenging those areas as best as possible. So a bodyweight good morning, could be done with band if you had one, is simply standing with feet under your hips, toes and heels nice and firm, hands on your head. I like them here because it forces that upright. You can certainly do chest if needed. So you want to think about bracing your core as if you're getting ready for a plank or a dead bug. So pull those ribs down. We're going to have a teeny knee bend. So this is a soft knee bend. We're not squatting here. And all I want you to do is think about maintaining that nice neutral back position. You're sending your bum back, back, back. We don't want the toes to totally lift, but it should feel like you're shifting your weight into your heels. So as I send my hips back, right now, I feel my abs on, I can feel my abs working, but I feel my hamstrings totally loaded, which is perfect. I'm gonna squeeze my butt, come to stand. So soft knee bend. If you're squatting like this, we're not doing it quite right. We want to hips back, back, back. Firm, belly squeeze. You're gonna feel those hamstrings. If we're just floating like that, that is not gonna do the same thing. We want to keep that tension that I talked about. So let's do a couple more. Hips back, feel those hamstrings loaded. Squeeze your butt, come to stand. This is a great one to add into your day. Challenge those hamstrings and glutes. Certainly if you have a lightweight, you could hold at your chest, or again, you could step into a band. Good, last one. Now, you can either continue doing those as I showed this next variation, but we're gonna look at a single leg, essentially a single leg deadlift or a good morning. Technically it's a deadlift. So this is a great way to, again, continue working on some of those hamstring and glute activators, but also just in general, the stability we need through our hips to help reduce strain on areas like your back and your hips. So you're gonna be focusing on the same thing, but now we're standing on one leg. You can arms out to the side, or for now, keep them down. I'm gonna pull my ribs down, keep my belly squeezed. I'm gonna have a soft knee bend. The goal is to keep your hips parallel, so we don't wanna be rotating out. Try and keep that back foot facing the ground. And we're gonna slowly lower. Oops, my chair's in the way. Remove that. Try not to kick things. So we're gonna try and keep that same idea, foot planted. You're gonna hinge forward, reaching towards the ground, and come to stand. So these are considered single leg deadlifts. And even without weight, you're gonna realize really quickly how effective they are for working on that single leg balance, stability through your hips, that hamstring mobility. Again, posture is about how well we can move. And this is a great way to challenge that. And only go as far as you can. You could even hold on to your desk if you're feeling like balance is really limited. Good, I'm gonna switch sides so that we're even. If you are following along, so core squeeze, soft knee bend. If you find that this is incredibly hard, that's good information, right? When we talk about adventuring, being ready for hikes, trips, but even just getting through day to day or lifting weights in the gym, the amount of adults I talk to and end up working with who have no sense of balance and stability, that's a huge flag, right? To say this is a big gap. If we're asking our body to run and hike and do these big things, but we can't stabilize on a single leg through a more basic balance drill, that's really valuable information and a gap that might exist in your current routine. Good, let's rest there. So that's starting to get into a little bit of strengthening work. Again, you can do these anytime. We're gonna do some shoulder specific work next. So again, body weight only, but still effective. So we're gonna do some scap push-ups. Now you could, I know you can't see, pretend this is my desk. You could do them with your hands on your desk, or if you have a wall, you can do them on a wall. Our goal is to start taking that scapular movement that we talked about earlier and put it into a more active strengthening drill. Because when we talk posture, we need strength. Like your body needs to have the strength and stability to support the movement, right? So if you're just stretch all the time, but you're not actually strengthening, you're missing the opportunity to support your body more fully. So hands on the wall or hands on your desk, you're gonna get into a nice tight plank position and you're gonna squeeze those shoulder blades toward each other, then push them apart. The more angled you are, the more it's gonna challenge your core as well. But notice, I'm not doing this. My belly's not sinking, my elbows aren't bending, we're not doing a full push-up. We're trying to strengthen through those shoulder blades. This is called a scap push-up. Try them if you can. It's gonna be easier on the wall, more challenging the more horizontal you are. Good. These ones are a great option to add throughout your day, again, to create some of the strength, not just stretching. Good, and rest. Nice work, shake it out. So keeping with your shoulder health and strengthening, we're gonna do some bent over YT eyes. These can be done seated, so you can do the same thing if you're sitting at your desk. You could also do these holding small weights. So if you have small weights, this is a great opportunity to do so, but you can still get a lot out of them without the weights. So you're gonna just create a small hinge at your hips, or again, seated. Try and keep your back nice and flat so you're not putting pressure on your lower back. We're gonna start with Ys. Ys are gonna be thumbs up. You're gonna reach your hands to the sky. Notice, try not to bend the elbows. We're trying to keep them locked up. The other thing is we're trying not to shrug our shoulders up towards our ears. Try and keep your shoulders away from your ears. These are a great exercise you can add in daily. Again, really to support your shoulder health. And again, just create stability through the upper back. You'll find that even with body weight, they can get spicy pretty quickly. So if you do hold small weights, you'll find that they get challenging again quite quickly or early on. Good, so those are your Ys, shake it out. We're gonna do the same thing with your Ts. So bend over, thumbs up. We're gonna think about squeezing your shoulder blades together as if you're going straight across your body. Try and keep your arms straight. Try not to let your ribs extend. So we're really, again, trying to isolate through those shoulders. I find even just doing the movement so far, my body is warm. I can feel my shoulders working, all those little stabilizing muscles. And this is why, again, when we talk about moving better and improving posture, it doesn't need to be crazy, but these type of exercises are gonna add up if you start doing them throughout your day. Good, shake it on up. The last one is gonna be an I. You can play with either palms facing away or not. I'm gonna do palms facing away for today, but we're gonna bend over and you're just gonna lift behind you. So we're working a little bit of that internal rotation of our shoulders. Again, we're just trying to get your shoulders working in as many ways as we can. And you can do more volume if you're doing body weight only. You can do less volume if you're holding some weights. But you should make sure that you're not feeling shoulders shrugging up. We don't want tension up like this. We want to pull those shoulders away from your ears. Good, shake it on up. We're gonna give your shoulders a quick break and we're gonna look at your hip flexors, because one of the comments I hear often is, my hips feel so tight. Sometimes tightness isn't necessarily a sign of lack of flexibility or needing more stretching, although certainly that can be helpful. Sometimes it's weakness, right? We need to actually strengthen through our hip flexors if they're not being used much throughout our day. So there's a few options here. What I'm gonna show you today are just some hip flexor marches. So your goal is to work on balance and stability. So you can lift and hold. Notice that my standing leg, I'm not shifting out. I'm keeping my core tight, my foot planted. I'm lifting my leg around 90 degrees. This is strengthening my hip flexor. You might do this and cramp up a little bit. It might just mean shorter holds to start. Option one is to do just marches, which again, when we talk about moving more from your desk, just doing this for 30 seconds is a beautiful way to add some movement into your day. I'm squeezing my butt as I stand, so I'm working those glutes. I'm working to strengthen my hip flexors. Plus, I'm just moving my body a bit. Again, any chance to move more is a great thing. The other option, so you can either keep doing that, or is to do a hip flexor hold. So you're gonna actually lift, hold on to something for balance if you need, and we're gonna hold, and you're gonna try and think, am I able to keep my core braced? The standing leg, is this glute and quad engaged? You're gonna feel that hip flexor working. You might need to kind of just slowly lower as you go. Either or is fine. But again, when we talk about feelings of stiffness and tightness, it's not always about stretching, it's sometimes about strengthening. Okay, finish off this slide. Good, shake it on out. All right, we have one more standing drill before we take it to the chair to go through some seated options for you. And this one is one where if you have wall space, great. If you don't, I'll still show you another variation. It's called a wall slide. Now, I love this one. When we talk about more traditional, like where your brain goes to with posture, you think, I gotta stand taller. This is a great one for actually working on this idea of opening up your chest, your shoulders, working on that more upright position. So your goal is to get situated against the wall. I like bending my knees a little bit so I can get my back as flat against the wall as possible. Ideally, we don't want like a massive arch between your back and the wall. You're gonna get your arms into this W position. My space is a little weird to have this funky wall, so I'm not gonna be able to show it as fully as I want. But step one is simply, can you stand here with the effort of elbows and hands pressed against the wall? Like right now, I can feel my mid back, those shoulders engaging a lot. And that's the goal. This is great. This is, again, when we talk about mobility, not just stretching, we need to actively strengthen. This is hard right now. Now, option one is to just hold, break when you need, get back into it. Option two is to try and lift only as far as you can keep kind of the hands, ideally elbows on the wall, and go up and down from that position. So right now my shoulders are on fire, even without anything but my body. So if you're trying that, keep going. I just want to show for those who are not able to use a wall, you can literally do the same thing, just standing or seated, right? We talk about seated options. Pull the ribs down, core tight. You can either just pulse straight back, or you can try and just do nice and slow slides up and down without ribs extending and trying to move as slow and control as possible. It's like a body weight only overhead press, which again might not sound like it's going to do much, but it's a heck of a lot better than just sitting all day and not working on combating those positions. So that's going to be where we're at for, I'm just adjusting my screen here, for our standing movements. So we're going to just go over some seated options. These are going to be honestly more traditional, stereotypical. You've probably seen many of these, but remember, the goal is not to be creating these like brand new exercises. It's to just bring awareness so you have so many options. Let yourself just pick a couple throughout your day and do them more. So we're going to do thoracic rotations. We did the circular cars earlier, so now we're just going to go side to side. So you can place your hands on your shoulders, make sure your feet are nice and sturdy, and we're just going to go side to side. As you do this, try not to let your ribs flare. Again, don't let your lower back move. You might not get very far. That's okay. That's actually information, right? We want to make sure we're not always just compensating on other areas. I see a lot of clients with low back pain and lumbar area pain who are constantly compensating for their lack of thoracic mobility by moving too much in their lower back. Some of you with low back pain might have limited thoracic mobility, right? So again, we want to make sure we're looking full picture at how our body moves. And then we're going to do essentially what's kind of like a seated cat-cow. So you can kind of round, you can kind of grip. If you have a seat with arms, you can do that. You're just trying to get round and then let yourself kind of stick out your butt, lift your chest, look up into a bit of an arch position, and just go back and forth, tucking pelvis, rounding out into chest in a way that feels good for you. Trying to just get your body moving, spine moving. That's what this is all about. Breathing. Good. While we're here, I'm going to show you a simple way to modify a lunge stretch, right? If you're on a median and can't get up, but your hips are feeling like they need some love, you can shift to the side of your chair and step one leg back. Right now, this is giving me a beautiful stretch. I'm tucking the pelvis under, so again, my lower back is not taking the load, and I'm just gently pressing this hip forward, and I feel this awesome stretch all through the front of my quad and hip. If you want a little deeper stretch, you can certainly add a reach and even small pulses, but find what feels best for you and take some deep breaths here. I could technically sit and write an email like this, right? So find these little opportunities, because you can do this 30 seconds here or there and still be productive with your work and not feel like you're missing out too much. Good. I'm going to switch sides so that I'm even. You might need to play with your position a little bit. Find what feels good for you. Again, you can add that reach for a little bit of extra in terms of some of that lateral flexion. Got a few deep breaths. All right, we're gonna do a little more hips and hamstrings. So ankle over knee, and you're gonna do small pulses. So you're gonna gently press on that knee and shift forward. I like doing these actively. Certainly you could just hold whatever feels best for you. If you feel like sharpshooting, pinching, maybe adjust a little bit, or maybe don't push down as hard. Maybe play with the angle a little bit. You might find just shifting your angle gets you into a better position for where your body's at. This is, again, a good default for while you're sitting at your desk and needing a quick break. Sitting watching TV, Netflix. Good. That same leg, you're going to extend it out. I can't press too hard. My chair's going to slide back. But you're trying to pull your toe up towards you, and we're going to do gentle pulses. Try not to round your back. Try and keep your back fairly flat so you really feel the stretch through that back of that hamstring and calf. Again, I know that's particularly exciting. I did warn you, this isn't the most fun of classes, but again, one of the more practical ones, because sometimes we need these practical reminders. Moving well is not all glam and fun and throwing big weights around. It's often really more about the little things we do in the day. Good switch sides, so ankle over, small pulses. It's okay if one side feels a little different than the other, just good to bring awareness to. As humans, we all have imbalances. It's not really an issue unless there are major compensations happening. You know, no one's bodies are perfectly symmetrical, but if the way we move in our day is constantly really overloading one side over the other, that's when we need to start paying attention to how much attention we're giving that weaker or less flexible or less strong side, making sure unilateral work is part of your routine. Good. And then straighten the leg for the hamstring pulses. Good job. A few more here. Check how we're in our time. Good. Perfect. Just right on time here. Good. We're going to do some knee extension. So something like this, again, it might not feel like it's doing much, but when we're sitting and not walking and doing much, anything to get our joints moving, even if it's a few knee extensions like this, moving it all the way through flexion and extension. Good. We're going to switch sides. We're going to do too many here. Again, I just want to show you guys a range of options to think about. If your knees are crunchy, I mean, again, as long as pain's not there, your knees need a little bit more TLC. And another one that can be interesting is even just trying to move our hips through internal and external rotation. This is hard. Most people have limitations either through internal or external rotation. And try not to move your hips and simply move your foot in and out is gonna actually, you'll feel your hip and your glutes working a little bit here. Good, we'll switch sides. This is part of an assessment we often do for clients dealing with hip and back pain to see if there are limitations and imbalances through hips. Our internal and external rotation impacts a lot in terms of not just how we lift or squat, but how we walk, our gait, how we run, how we stand. Good. And then we're just going to do a nice chest opener. So clasping your hands behind, you can lift and lower. If you were to have handles on your, oh my gosh, yeah, you know what I'm saying, on your desk, on your chair, you can hold on to them. We're going to, arms, my gosh, that's the word. Don't mind me. You can work on pressing into those as well. You can lift your head if you feel better. You can lift and hold. And this is more kind of traditional stretching, just kind of opening up in the opposite way of what you tend to sit. You might feel it through your biceps. Good. And the last one we're going to do are just some lateral seated extensions. So trying to just move straight side to side. This can be arms down if you feel better. This one can be standing. But again, got to move your spine lots of ways. We want to bend, we want to extend, we want to rotate, we want to twist, we want to turn. So far today, you've seen a huge range of movement patterns. And so ask yourself which movement patterns, not just in day-to-day movement, but maybe even in your training, have you been avoiding? Good. All right. So those are standing and seated drills. Obviously, you probably have more that you know, and at the end of the day, doing what feels good for you is going to be most important, and most important is just doing more frequently. I'm just going to do a few ground-based exercises. I know these might not be realistic in the context of you doing it at work in your office, but still good to know just to have in mind. So ultimately, like we talked about, moving better and improving our back, our spine, our neck, our shoulders is about moving more, but not just about the flexibility of it, but strengthening. So something like a seated or a glute bridge, is incredibly valuable from a day-to-day perspective. Just laying down at some point in your day, bracing your core, driving through your heels, make sure you're not lifting with your lower back extended, and just going up and down nice and gently to wake up those posterior chain muscles. You've all seen glute bridges. This is nothing new. But often I see people not ever integrate this type of movement into their day unless they're signed up for a Pilates class, when most active adults can benefit from using and waking up those glutes and hamstrings more often, especially if you are sitting all day. So don't shy away from just throwing some of these in at the start of your day, at the end of your day. If you can't do it midday, maybe you don't have a home office set up like I do. Good. Next, we're going to just do some dead bugs. Again, basic movements. I add these often into warm-ups and workouts, but even from a day-to-day perspective, we're talking about posture and supporting our spine. We need a strong core. We need to be able to stabilize our spine. So either knees bent or straight, trying to actually keep a flat back here, and focus on deep breath in, feel your stomach expand, feel it fall on the exhale, arms up, shoulders into the ground, and just breathing here. If you are more advanced, you could certainly try opposite leg, opposite hand, moving slow, keeping that back flat. But even again, when we talk about just day-to-day health, throwing in 10, sorry, it's hard to breathe and talk in this one, deep breaths in this position is going to help create some stability through your spine and work some of those deep core muscles, which we need to help our posture and this feeling of moving with ease. Good. Next up is going to be a favorite of mine, which is static crab. If you have wrist limitations, I know this can feel like a lot, so don't force it. You might even find you don't lift your bum off the ground. You just stand or sit like this. But we're trying to actually keep our fingers pulled behind, shoulders down and back. You're going to press feet and hands into the ground and lift your bum 1 inch from the ground. Notice I'm looking up just slightly, right? When we talk about sitting, you're like this all day. This is literally strengthening through those shoulders and the muscles that we're talking about activating to stabilize. We can't just stretch if we're not creating strength to support holding your shoulders in place or giving them that stability they need. So you can hold for 30 seconds and then rest. Hold them 30 seconds and rest. Again, you can do something similar to this with your armchairs. Good, and rest. And you can tell even from just a short hold, even if your bum wasn't lifting off the ground, that those shoulder blades were working. I'm sure you could tell pretty quickly on. Now, next up, again, in terms of just small space, simple things you can do on the ground is going to be our A-frame. So that's when we get our hands under our shoulders, tuck those toes. You're going to think bum to the sky. So if you have a string on your bum, reaching up to the sky. Option to just hold here. Again, we're just trying to actively work on strengthening through your shoulders and spine. So even just holding here can work wonders. But if you wanted a little bit more of a challenge, you could gently press one hand into the ground and the other, requiring a little bit more stability through those shoulders. Make sure you're breathing. Good, and rest. You need to do a quick wrist shakeout, feel free. And then the last thing we're going to do is going to be a thread the needle. So this is, again, focusing on some rotation through the spine. Sorry, we have 2 more movements, but both focus on rotation through the spine so that, again, you're not only working in this singular direction all the time. So the first one's a thread the needle. You're going to come onto all fours. You're going to go reaching, I'm going to go right arm all the way through, trying to reach the wall behind you. Feel that stretch through your ribs, your shoulders, and then you're going to reach that arm up to the sky. So I'm going to go for about 6 or 7 aside. This is a great one, again, to challenge your spine moving in more ways. Any type of thoracic reach can be a great addition to your routine. I'm going to switch sides. Reach that across, keep the bum high. And you can always hold these positions if one feels better than the other. You just feel like one needs a little bit more time and attention. I'm gonna do one more. Okay, the last one we're actually gonna do is like a cat-cow, but I call it a wag the tail. We're going in circles. So most of you know cat-cows. They're a great addition to your routine. So regular cat-cows absolutely should be in your circulation. But the wag the tail, start getting our hips rotating. Again, when we talk about more movement, more range, is a more circular pattern. So it's like the cat-cow, but I'm letting my hips shift to one side as I do it. So I'll kind of show from this angle for a couple reps. You know, it might feel a little funny, but it's important. Think about how this impacts, you know, things like getting in and out of the car when you go to reach for something awkwardly. Not just combating posture of sitting, but just being able to move more easily in those random day-to-day tasks. Going to pick up your kid, good, switch directions. Good. Shake it on out. All right, crew. Well, that is what I got for you for today. I hope that this, again, gave you some ideas in terms of practical, realistic movements that you can add throughout your day. I like to call these movement snacks, right? You don't necessarily need to commit to a full, 10 minutes at a time of stretching and mobility drills like I showed you. It might be that every time you get up for a bathroom break or to refill your water bottle, before you sit down at your desk, you're going to do 2 or 3 exercises for maybe 30 seconds each. Or, on a lunch break, every time you go to have a meal, give yourself that break. Maybe you need to set a little sticky note on your computer or a prompt on your watch or your phone every hour to get up and move, right? I've had clients who that is their core habit, is movement break reminders. One of my clients feels awkward stretching in front of her coworkers, but there's a stairwell right on her way to the bathroom. So every time she finishes going to the bathroom, she just pops into the stairwell, does a couple stretches, and moves back to her desk. So we all have the opportunity to move more in our days. It's about how intentional we are and how deliberate or how consistent you are in making it a habit, because these things are going to require more effort up front to like prompt yourself to move more, but your body is going to thank you. And the more consistent you are, the more you're going to feel better in your body and less pain, but the easier it becomes, because it will just be intuitive to be standing there waiting for your coffee and be like, oh, I'm going to add in this stretch, or to, again, before you go to sit down, be like, I'm going to throw in this extra stretch. So that's the goal, move more. Posture isn't one thing, it's about moving our body more and in more ways. So hope this gave you some ideas. I appreciate you being here or following along if you're watching the replay. And as always, if you have any questions, need any help in making these things habit, or knowing what to do for your particular injury or body or goals, you can always reach out. But otherwise, have a beautiful day and week ahead, and I hope to see you all soon.